All right, good evening, fifth graders. Tonight we're going to be doing the written assessment review. So basically, we're doing the review before Unit 5. So tomorrow when you come into class, you'll know exactly what to do on your review study guide. So all these problems are going to be pretty much the same, except there's going to be different numbers. Okay, we're going to have to write 3 equivalent fractions for the following. So 1/4. What can we change this into? I'm not going to let you go 10 over 40, 100 over 400. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to have to multiply. So if we multiply each one of these by 2, I get 2 eighths, okay? If I multiply them by 3, you get 3 twelfths. And let's multiply them both by 4. Gives me 4 over 16. That would work for an answers, okay? First one here, we're going to multiply these both by 2. Gives me 14 over 16. Let's multiply them both by 3. Gives me 21 over 24. And the last one, we're going them both by 4. 28 over 32. Pretty basic, pretty easy. If we're finding equivalent fractions, whatever we're multiplying on the top, we're multiplying on the bottom. Same thing with division, okay? Now we're going to have to be working with, it's kind of like a little bit of a multiple choice here, okay? Let's take a look. It says fill in the oval next to each equivalent fraction or mixed number. There may be more than one correct answer. So let's see some questions here. We're trying to convert 15 over 4. So let's first of all look, how many 4s go into 15? 3 go into 15. What's left over? 3/4. Is that an answer? 3 3/4 would work, okay? So 3 3/4 works. That means 3 1/4 doesn't work. Let's take a look at this last one. That last one's kind of confusing because we have a 2 here, but we have a 3 here. So we're automatically going to think that's wrong. But take a look. The 7's bigger than the 4. So what I want you to do is I want you to change this into an improper fraction. So what we're going to do is we're going to go 4 times 2, which is 8, plus 7 is 15. And then we have 4, which is the same as this, which means this answer works. Move on to the next problem. We have 3 2/3. Okay, nothing down there is 3 2/3. Let's change this into an improper fraction, just like we did down here. We're going to go 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11 over 3. Do we have any 11 over 3s? We do. We have one right here. If 11 over 3 works, that means 8 over 3 cannot work. That means 9 over 3 can't work. Let's keep on going. Let's move over to the other side. Actually, could 8 over 3 work? How many 3's go into 8? We have 2 2/3 left over. That's not the same, so that doesn't work. Let's move over. 6 and 8 over 7. Once again, this problem, I'm going to change colors again. This problem's a lot like this problem down here. Because we have a mixed number and the 8 on top. So let's change this into an improper fraction. 6 times 7 is 42, plus 8 gives me a 50 over a 7. That means 49 can't work. That means 56 can't work. That means 50 over 7 is my only answer. All right, let's keep going. All right, you're going to see some problems like this on the test. A hexagon is worth 1, so let's take a look here. We have 1, we have 2. So I have 2 as my big whole number, and then I have this little section here. I have to think about how much of this is inside this shape. Let's take a look here. That means we're splitting this shape into thirds, so this means 1/3. So right here, this number as a mixed number is 2 1/3. How do I present this as a fraction? 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1, 7 over 3. This means kind of an improper fraction, okay? Let's take a look at this next one. I've got 1 here. I know these two equal 1 as well, so I have a 2. This shape right here is half of this shape, so I have a half. What is that as a fraction? 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5 over 2. Next one here, I have 1, 2, 3. A big 3. Now we're splitting this into 4s. Looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 3/4. How am I going to write that as an improper fraction? 3 or 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15 over 4. Let's keep going here. Use fraction 6 to add them up. You don't have to use the fraction 6. Remember, the main thing I want you to do is find a common denominator. We have common denominators here, so excellent. I know 16 is my denominator. Now I just have to add 3 plus 9 is 12. Okay, 12/16. We'll be doing more reducing in Unit 6. Right now, I just want you to get to the right answer, okay? Right here, 8 and 4. This does not work because they're not common denominators. So you have got to stack these. You have 5/8. You have 1/4. What number can 4 and 8 both go into? A lot of you are going to put down 32, but there's a much smaller number, kids. 32 isn't wrong, but let's make it easier. What can 8 and 4 both go into? They both go into 8 because 8 can go into 8. That means 8 times 1 is 8. 5 times 1 is 5. 4 times 2 is 8. 1 times 2 is 2. Simply just add the 5 and the 2 gives me a 7. Keep my denominator 7/8. Let's jump back to this problem. 7/8 is my answer. Let's keep going here. Right, a greater than equal sign or less than sign for these problems. 4/15, 14/15, same denominators, they sure are. So now I just look at the numerators. 14 is bigger. Right here I have the same denominators, but I don't have the same style of problem. So I've got to either change them both into improper fractions or both into mixed numbers. I'm going to change them both into improper fractions. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 2 is 17 over 3. So what's larger, 17 or 16? 17 is larger. Let's keep going. 4/12 and 1/3, 12 and 3. I have got to find a common denominator. Can 12 and 3 both go into 12? They sure can. So I'm just going to change this fraction because this one would stay the same. Times 4 gives me 4/12. 4/12. 4/12. They equal each other. 5/8 and half. Have to find common denominators. 8 and 2, they both go into 8, like I just said earlier. So I only need to change this problem times 4. Times 4 gives me 4/8. What's larger, 4 or 5? The 5 is larger. Let's keep going. Explain one way to find equivalent percents. Okay, we're having trouble doing this exercise earlier the other day. I'm going to bring this into the problem because a lot of us remembered it when I started drawing hearts on your page. Remember this lesson, kids? I have a 10, I have 100, I have 1,000. Please remember this concept. You have 2/5. I'm going to ask myself, can 5 go into 10, 100, or 1,000? Well, 5 goes into all of them. Let's just keep it easy. Put 5 into 10. Going times 2 gives me 4/10. Well, I know 4/10 is a decimal is 0.4. If I'm changing it into a percent, I have to add the 0 here because I have to go into the hundredths place, which equals 40%. Simple and easy. A lot of you are going to try going 2 divided by 5, which is way too much work. Let's just keep it simple. All right, let's take a look here. First of all, you're going to see a problem pretty similar to this on your assessment, kids. First of all, I want you to estimate. So let's take a look at the zucchini there. Actually, we'll start with the tomato, okay? We know the tomato is a little bit past 25%, right? So let's go with 30% for your tomato. Let's keep on looking here. Zucchini looks like it's exactly 25%. That one's a little easier. Cucumbers looks less than 25%, doesn't it? So let's go with 20%. Oh, my bad. We're on squash. Squash looks like it's a lot less. So if this is 25% right here and squash is there, let's give squash a 10%. Let's keep going here. Potatoes, once again, it's in that 25% range, a little less. So if we gave squash a 10%, let's give potatoes 20%. And then cucumbers, we're going to give 20% as well. It's okay to be off a little bit with your estimating, but if we were to add these up, we'd be about 55%, 65%. So right here, we're at about 105% when we add these up, okay? Not too far off. This is where you have to be exact, though, when you start using your percent circle on your assessment here. I'm going to bring this one over here. Technical difficulties. Bring this over. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little larger so we can. We're started off with the zucchini. Lined up. We know that one is exactly 25%. Then I'm going to go ahead and move it around the circle until we get to the squash on my next line. I'm going to read that as 7%. It's after the 5. My squash is at 7%. Keep going on my circle here. I'm going to go to my potatoes. My potatoes look like they're right under 15%. So I'm going to go with 14 per. I better make sure I'm right in the middle here. 14% on my potatoes. And go ahead and go to my cucumbers now. My cucumbers are less than 25%. Looks like they're right around 23%. My cucumbers are at 23%. Then I'm going to take a look at how much my tomato is. All right. So I can read it like a clock. The reason why I'm showing you this and I'm talking through it so you know how to use a percent circle. Okay, my tomatoes go all the way past right to the, where's their line at? Perfect. This is where their line ends, right here. So that gives me a 32%. Let's see how close I was with my estimating. This is pretty close, close, close. This one's a little more off. Let's take a look at these. Now let's add them up and see how we did. 32, you'll have to do this with scratch paper. 32 plus 25 gives me 57. Plus 7 gives me 1464. Plus 14 gives me 78. Plus 23. 1 gives me 101. That's a pretty close answer. As long as your total rounds up to 95% or 105%, you're going to be just fine. Anything off on that, that means we're too far off on our percentages. Okay? All right. Let's keep going. Here's another example. Let's go ahead and make this on our circle. So let's start with the country. So I'm going to go ahead and move my circle on top here. We're in the middle here. Right on top. Right in the middle of our circle. Here's my 0. We're going to go to 32%. Right there. Okay. Remove. I'm going to get my side of my template. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and label it as I go. I'm just going to put 32% in here so we don't get confused. Next one, I'm going to go ahead and rotate it around. We're going to be doing the rap music. Okay. To 22%. So that means we're right about there. Go ahead and move this over. Get my line, draw my straight line down. I'm going to add 22% to that. My next one is 36%. I'm going to put my 0 at my new line. Make sure I'm at the 0 on the page. 36% will put me right at there, right up to the 35. And draw my line. Then my very last one should be 10% if I did this correctly. Let's see how we did. Perfect. Move it around. Did I get it as close as possible? Looks like it's 11%. That is good enough. It's right there. Not that problem. Didn't label the last one though. 36%, and I have a 10%. Perfect. Okay. Now let's take a look at these here. I know it's getting a little long, but this is a review one, okay? If 100 students answered the survey, how many of them chose rock? So I know 100 will be my denominator, right? Rock is 36%. So we're going to go 36 over 100 equals, we have 100 people. So 100 times 1, 36 times 1 gives me 36. So how many people chose rock? 36 people chose rock. Let's look at the next one. If 10 students, all right, so 10 is my denominator. I'm trying to find how many up here be a part of it. Chose jazz. Let's take a look at jazz here. Jazz is 10%. So we're going to be going 10 over 100 equals So how does 100 get to 10? We're going to be dividing by 10, right, to get there. So if we divide by 10, 10 divided by 10 would be 1. So one student would pick jazz. If 50 students answered the survey, how many of them chose country? Country, my percentage is 32%. So I've got 50 students, right, kids? 32%, we have to write that as a fraction, equals 100 goes into 50 divided by 2. 32 divided by 2 gives me 16. So that means 16 of them chose country. You have to keep remember this, how we change the percents into fractions. This whole unit of Unit 5, we're constantly changing fractions to decimals to percents. Okay? Hopefully this helped you with your review. Sorry I got a little longer than the 11-minute mark, but you always know that reviews last a little longer. If there's anything in the video that you feel like you should re-watch, go ahead and do that so you are prepared for class tomorrow. See you tomorrow, kids. Good luck.